So the Premier League fixture list has been released, and there's a lot of people who are quite relaxed, quite happy, others not so much. And one of the big fan bases that are in a little bit of turmoil, and you could say some others as well, given the current situation for their transfer windows thus far. Um, Other clubs definitely will be feeling a bit more pressure to need to deliver in terms of preparation for the new season. Manchester United is one of those, and I think it's deemed by some group, I don't know which group it is, or somebody who does these calculations as to working out percentages as to how hard is your opening run of fixtures, your first 5 games or first 6 games. And it apparently aggregated that Man United had the hardest run out of every single Premier League team based off of um, pound for pound the quality level of opposition that we play up against, and that doesn't show for promising reading. But who knows? I say who knows, because you never quite know what to expect with Manchester United, and with a summer that we've got a CEO saying, "Look, open heart surgery may be needed, but we're relaxed about doing business. We don't need to rush." What's the rush, guys? Chill out, calm down, slow it right down. We'll have Burma win by the time that the the number of digits in the year hits five. 5 digits instead of the four. We will have him by then, definitely, for sure. But just chill, just relax about it. And obviously, with looking at the fixture list, I think a lot of people will now be seeing those words in a slightly different light, based off of what Omar Barada has said. Um, some of it I can get behind, other bits I'm very, very much like, you've missed the barrel with that one, you missed the shot. Um, and yeah, let's read through at least the first 2 months of fixtures. Um, and one thing we have to keep in consideration is there's no European competition in between. There'll be only the domestic competition, so Carabao Cup is pretty much the only notable midweek fixtures that we will have by the time we get to until December, thereabouts, November, December time, which is when you get the first rounds of the FA Cup fixtures that the big Premier League teams will be involved with. But I can imagine that where we finished in the league, we might have to play an extra fixture in the FA Cup, possibly, maybe, um, just another round for a potential further upset. Um, but yeah, the first 2 months and the first game is a statement game, very much a statement game. Arsenal at home. Mm, Arsenal at home. What a way to kickstart a season. And it does make that sort of, the Gyökeres transfer story, if you will, um, or saga, a lot more spicy, because I know a lot of people will say, well, Arsenal will sign him. Arsenal will sign Gyökeres, or Manchester United will. But then maybe, we've got people asking, oh, who is it that Gyökeres will score the opening Premier League goal against? Will it be Arsenal? Will it be Man United? Well, how about this? How about the first goal he scores against, or team he scores against? Hell, let's just take the piss and say AC Milan. Let's just say he goes and scores against AC Milan. Why? Because Juventus still exist. Do Juventus still exist? Who knows? Maybe PSG could uh, could turn around later in the window and say, "I fancy some of that." And I think we're taking for granted that the only clubs at all interested in Gyökeres are the ones that have are present, currently known at this present time. Um, Meanwhile, we know how clubs operate. How right now, even though it's only halfway through June, the business that we're linked to now may not be the business we're linked to by the time we hit July. Names will crop up. People you don't really expect to be linked to the club will be linked to the club. There's a lot of nonsense stories out there. I think Richard Rios has come up again. I don't know what the obsession is with Richard Rios. That's not going to happen. There was talks about this Fafana from Lyon. Talks that we entered the race for that player, even though it makes absolutely no sense because there's no plans for anybody else, barring and getting a Burmo agreement sorted, and then focusing on the striker. If we can get both of those done before the 1st of July, which should be quite a push with the way that this club has now sort of slowed things down a huge amount. They're talking about, well, we don't need to fuss about, rushing, this transfer window. We will try to do business quickly unless if something that we can negotiate to save as much money as possible. And I'm just thinking, but that does impact the preparation of the squad and who's in this team and who isn't in this team. You've got a load of people that you're not really actively pushing out the door with urgency, and you're not pulling anybody else in the door with any urgency. You've done Cunha. That's all well and good. But what about the next one? What about the next one after that? What about the sales? Sancho is now being touted with Napoli. I've just seen something talking about terms agreed with Napoli. I doubt that because the guy's saying no to absolutely everybody at the moment. I don't know what's going on with Sancho in his life. Seriously, what a way to absolutely have a car crash of a career at his stage of his career. Literally could become a seriously good player if he'd just lose this ego with needing to be paid unlimited amounts of money. Seriously, like how about just go offer yourself to Saudi Arabia if you're that desperate for cash? How much is your house costing you, mate? Is your is your council charging you stupid rent prices? Is it charging you stupid gas prices or electricity bills? Are they trying to screw you over? Why is it that you're so desperate for so much money? You could have gone back to Chelsea at a Champions League team and having won a trophy with them, you can literally go and become more of a mainstay with Chelsea. But you refuse to agree to deal with them. Everybody else who is a prominent club that would be a great option for you, you're rejecting every time because they're not paying me £300,000 a week in that ballpark. How many players let themselves go in their careers to chase the bag? Seriously. And it's like players, it feels like players have just stopped being concerned about being players. They just, can I kick a ball 5 yards and find a teammate? Yes. Can I do it over 50% of the time? Yes. Okay, give me 100k a week at least. That's a starting salary, and then next season I'd like to negotiate to double that. Like, it's ridiculous, the modern day footballer. Seriously, gone is the passion for the game. Gone is the love of the game. Replaced by economic greed. Desperate to get the paychecks, but not put in any of the work to actually ensure it, to guarantee it. So yeah, that's all fun. But yeah, as I was saying about the fixture list, Arsenal at home, first game of the season. Um, I think it's highlighted for both teams. You know, time to time to take the gloves off and start really hammering into this transfer window. Get some players in ready for pre-season because that's going to be a big feature for preparations coming up for this season. You need players ready. You need them gelling together. You need cohesion. You need to understand the system. And for some of the players that we are linked to, for example, Brian in Burma, we don't know um, what role he will have in the team. He could play in the 10, he could play in that wing back role. We don't know how he's going to be utilised. So we want to give time. We need to have time to allow him to understand the environment a bit better, the sort of teammates he's working with, and ultimately be better prepared. But if we're just going to drag this out, and not only does this hamper the integration for Brian and Burma, it hampers the deals for anybody else, but also their integration into the team. Because there's a sickly habit of clubs doing business whilst games in the Premier League are going on. Like you see, it feels like you see how if you start the season well, you won't do any business because it's like, well, we don't need to do anything here. They seem to be all right. But then you lose a first couple of games and you hit the panic button. It's like, no, no, we've not done enough, not done enough. How about you claim you've not done enough before a ball's been kicked, even for pre-season? How about you do that? How about you draw out the plans and say, we need to play at this position, that position, that position, that position, and that position as a bare minimum, and all five of those players are in before you've even kicked a ball, before you've even boarded a plane. Man City have done that. You know, four players: Liverpool, Frimpong, Vert, and they're doing the deal for Kirkish. They're sorting out their team. They've replaced Trent with Frimpong. Robertson's looks like he's off to Atletico Madrid. That's him already replaced with the Kirkish deal. You add another attacking creative midfielder in Florian Wirtz into the attacking midfield position. I mean, it's looking good. It's looking good for the reigning champions, and it's looking good for the team that want to be reigning champions. But everybody else is well. Let's focus on being. Let's focus on trying to attain the participation awards. That's the focus. Mateus Cunha. And now we started the window looking like we were going to attack this window, right? The Cunha deal happened very, very quick. Linked to Mbermo, started talks. Mbermo stated his preference for United. It looked like it was just going to click straight into place again, and it will be easy, completely over and done with. United are really, really struggling to get to an agreement with Brentford, even though the personal terms are without an issue and are pretty much agreed. So essentially, they are just waiting on the green light between club to club agreement, and then that deal gets done. But they're wasting time. Time in football is money. And I don't think business people like a Barada quite understands that at this moment in time in United's case. See, with Manchester City, it's a lot easier, a lot easier. But with Man United's case, you're already down in major deficit. You've got to bring it back, and then you can start to talk about building the sustainable model of the club. You've got to recover a deficit first. So, don't know about you, Homer Barada, but I would probably just pay up the minimum asking price of what Brentford want and just say, look, you asked for this. We're not going any higher than this. You can agree or you walk away. Make it one and done. Put the money on the table and head out. Focus on getting players out that door so you can start chasing your striker target. Get that player sorted out. Waste no time with that, and then you can start talking about the other deals. We were linked with Douglas Luiz as part of an exchange, potentially, and I think it was Anthony going one way, and then Douglas Luiz come the other way. I would like to see that. I would. I think that's, you get rid of a player you need to get rid of. You bring a player in that, is in a position that we do need to look at in that midfield and with previous Premier League experience, and he's also experienced as a player in an individual himself. So it ticks a lot of boxes with that sort of a deal. But again, it's a speculative thing. Um, Probably not something that the club's all that interested in doing. And I think, given that it's a little too far ahead of the plan of things at the moment, we're probably not going to see anything of that sort happen. And if we're going to go by United's clock, probably won't see any midfield or goalkeeper targets being spoken, even remotely spoken about, seriously by the club sources, um, until we're well into July, and that's a shame. As the thumbnail you probably have seen, Emi Martinez is on there. He's been linked with an exit from Aston Villa, and United are very much interested in the prospect of Martinez. Irrespective of whether Anana stays or goes, Anana looks like he's going to end up staying. I would still go ahead with getting Emi Martinez in. And hell, if Bayern Deer's even said that, so, with a Turkish return for a transfer, he's apparently saying, "Oh, I don't really want to leave just yet." And I'm thinking, for the backup goalkeeper to state his position as like, "I'm not going to go anywhere." Yet again, the club is being dictated to by players. Once again, the club needs to pull out the big guns and really start hammering home to a lot of players that you are very much insignificant in comparison to the club and its operations, its desired operations. You are just a part of the machine. We we put our investment into what's going to make the club better. And if you are not a part of that picture, pack your bags, you're gone. And we will do a lot in our power to ensure that you trying to fight that current your life will be made as hellish as possible. And we will be nasty. We will not be gentlemen about it. We will be nasty. And I think that's what you need to challenge these players with. I do. I really do think you need to challenge those players with that, because it kicks it will kick the agents into gear to actually taking the threat seriously and actually going to sort out those sort of business deals. So Manchester United can move on and focus on the things they have to focus on, rather than sit around and say, well, we'd like to sign this player, but we need to sell first. We, we can't sell these players because they just don't want to go. It's not because people just generally outright couldn't buy them or want to buy them. The interest is there. Garnacho's got suitors all over the place. Sancho has names, propping up and dropping off again because he keeps telling them, no, no, go away, leave me alone. Leave me alone. I'm at a club that I hate being at, right? I'd love it at your club, but please, leave me alone. It's like, I swear to God, this guy might literally just be deliberately staying at this club to piss everyone off for a year. No, I genuinely think he hates us that much. He probably does hate us that much. I don't get it. I don't get it. Why doesn't the club declare war? Declare war on Sancho and just say, yeah, it's over now. You're done. You're finished. Get out whilst you still can. Otherwise, you'll never see the top flight of football ever again. Do something that really just challenges player ambition. And I said this about Maguire when he was insistent that oh, I won't go, I won't go, I won't go. It's problematic to me. So yeah, just a further exercise this point about Sancho. Napoli are interested, or no, progressing in talks to sign Dan Ndoye, with personal terms now almost agreed. Discussions ongoing with Bologna. Conte has approved Ndoye as target already last month, as reported. Jadon Sancho remains on Napoli's list, but not at current salary and fee conditions. So I don't think necessarily the fee is too much of an issue at 30 million. The salary, however, he shuts himself down all the time, all the time, and closes all the doors of, he'll close all the doors of opportunity. So it's just going to be nightmarish. Just going to be nightmarish. He's lowered his own coffin 6 feet under. Um, all he has to do is just jump into it. Rashford looks like it's a difficult situation because he really was desperate for Barcelona. People talking about reintegration for Rashford, and I say go to hell. Really, go to hell. Integration of Rashford, seriously. Yeah, again, it's like we knew that this tie between player and club is over. Why are people talking about bringing him in? Oh, come home, Marcus, come home. Like the guy evidently is tired, was tired of playing at this club. It was PR statement after PR statement after PR statement. His time at this club is over, and people need to keep that buried. Don't dig it up. Don't try to necromance that story with Rashford back into reality because, Mr. Mag born and bred is on a poster in your bedroom. I wouldn't I wouldn't have anything. I don't want anything to do with with Rashford in a United shirt anymore. Same thing with Sancho. Anthony, I think, you need to utilise the ability to get a fee, at least for Anthony. And I think with Anthony, he's a lot more compliant to taking any pay cuts to get those moves. Because at least with Anthony, he thinks more about football than the bag. So, there's a chance there, but all the suitors that keep chasing him are all wanting him for a loan deal, which is not ideal. Most likely sale at the moment is probably Garnacho, who I think, given that again, pure profit sale for Manchester United is going to be difficult to try and command a higher fee. There's talks that United want to upkeep about a £60 million fee. If they can command that, everyone's saying 40. United wants 60. Everyone says, well, we'll give you 40. So yeah, bit of a disconnect there. Hopefully, we can spin things around to um, find a way to give us more in the kitty for a Garnacho sale. Um, but yeah, that's kind of where we were at with the state of the transfer window. It's quite stagnant. Players we desperately need. Uh, Omar Barada saying we don't need to rush on them. We'll try to be quick, but we'll try not to be quick at the same time, all in the name of saving £1 or £2 million. To me, it's not worth it. It's not worth it in United's situation. You can talk about it if you're in Liverpool's position, where it's like, we're in a prime position. We just won the league. We will target players, but let's try and do it as with as much of a positive um, outlook on ourselves as possible, right? Looking like we're, a very efficient club. We're not overpaying stupid money for players that might be risks. We're trying to be calculated, operating in the window in a very calculated manner. United, I think, are trying to are giving off messages that they are or trying to be too calculated. Arsenal, we could probably say our opponent's first game week. We could probably say something fairly similar. Zubimendi is doing a Tyrrell Malacia. I don't know if the guy is actually still alive. He might be dead. Um, go find go find where he's at because nobody knows where he is. Um, however, as far as striker targets go, um, it's looking like the deal for Benjamin Sesko is advancing. So, does that open the doorway for Manchester United to chase down sloppy seconds Victor Gyökeres, or as the sloppy seconds Victor Gyökeres. And I think it's interesting how much people have turned off from the player when it was supposed that he was not going to, or he was prioritising the transfer to Arsenal. When that report came out, it was quite funny actually reading that about that, because the whole literally, I think it was Record Portugal managed to cover the entire beginning, like build up, middle, the climax, and then the end in the space of 2 days for an entire transfer saga in their reporting. Literally, like 2 days, they covered every stage of grief, every single stage, a whole love story, more convincing than a Twilight film, right? And for some weird reason, people actually took that as gospel. I don't know why. Like, it didn't make any sense to me. Why were people so obsessed with that? Record Portugal saying, "Oh, Arsenal, they're in for the player. He wants to join them. They're going to bid." Oh no, they rejected the bid, although Arsenal did know that this was going to be the case. They knew it was going to be rejected. Then it comes to tomorrow. Arsenal have pulled out the race. They are absolutely sick and tired of Sporting Lisbon's shit. And I'm like, tired of what? Excuse me? What? Mate, according to you, they put a bid in like a day or two ago. How can they be sick and tired after 1 or 2 days? How is that possible? Damn, I guess we're just in a completely different galaxy to how patient we are. Because Brian and Burma is still not here after 2.5, 3 weeks. You know, from the first bid being rejected, I haven't even submitted a second bid yet. Tottenham put in proposals and everything, but now somebody's reported, well, and Burma's not going to happen. You know, Burma to Spurs is off. It's off, guys. It's not going to happen. Probably not to say that it's off the table, because I can imagine the second that United showed that they are turning away from an Burma deal because they can't, or they really will not go above a certain amount for this Burma deal, which I think would be an absolute disgrace. Um, that's when Spurs will turn around and go full speed ahead, because Burma's club preference is now no longer an option. So immediately, Brian and Burma turns around and goes, well, I guess Tottenham are the only club. And at least Tottenham would pay. At least Tottenham will pay whatever it is Brentford ask. So, yeah. So Manchester United better get this business done with Mbeumo, because the alternatives are not very, I'd say ambitious. Not very ambitious. I'd say this Mbeumo deal is a very ambitious deal to do, but it needs to be ambitious because we need to massively, massively improve the biggest focal areas of the team of major improvement to be needed is the striker, the attacking third department, as well as goalkeeper. Those two positions are absolutely like mission critical. If you get Mbeumo in, that's 2 out of 3 done, and that radically changes the outlook of your attack next season. Right, it radically changes it because you've got Cunha in Mbeumo, who can score as well as create, very versatile, play across different positions. Could sign a striker, let's just say for argument's sake, Gyökeres. You're buying the goals, right? You're buying the goal tallies of last season with Gyökeres. You buy him on the precipice of being the most informed striker. Whether he delivers for United is its own question. That's the sort of bridge we'll cross when we get to it. but you buy him for the goals. The front three of next season potentially to go into that Arsenal fixture with, judging we can do the business before we get to there, would be Gyökeres, Cunha, and Brian and Burma. That's a very, very potent attack. Very potent attack and very Premier League proven. The only facet you don't really know about is how good Gyökeres would be in that team. And I'd hope that he'd be very, very good. But we have to see how, again, the dynamic works. But it is significantly better than the last season's proposed front three, where you've got Garnacho on the left, Hoyland up top, and then maybe Fernandes on the right, or maybe Mason Mount, or maybe Kobe Minu, or maybe Amad Diallo. So there's a lot to be said um, about the way that we're setting up our team for next season, and with the inclusion of Martinez there as a goalkeeper prospect, looking like he's doing the crazy with Gyökeres. I'm sure he probably would, but bringing Martinez in, you focus on having a shot stopper in your team ahead of anything else. So to me, it would be no silly goals, like really, really stupid goals to concede, or having games where because of your goalkeeper, you lose a game or you don't win a game because of your goalkeeper. That can never be the case. If it ever is the case, that goalkeeper is going to be very, very expensive for you. You don't even need to worry about transfer fees for those guys. They will cost you in many other ways. Um, and yeah, pretty much that is how it is with United's must-do business. Desperately, desperately do need those three on the thumbnail. Um, but I'll be interested to see what the focus becomes for the rest of the business once we've done the priority positions. Let's say we do the striker and Burma gets done, and also we do a goalkeeper deal. I know the midfield is being looked at. I know some people will say centre back, some people will say don't need to. For me, you get rid of Lindelof and uh, what's his face, Evans, and you don't replace them. Did both of those players play last season multiple games? Yes. Why did they play? Injuries to other players. They played. So we lower the numbers again. The availability becomes a bit more strenuous, and we don't bring a replacement in. That to me sounds rather problematic. So yeah, I would look at potentially. I don't even need to be a very good centre back. Could literally be like another Johnny Evans. Just needs to be someone. And the thing is, the defence wasn't the problem, right? The three centre backs were not the problem of last season. I mean, the fact that Johnny Evans could step up and have good performances last season says it all, right? Johnny Evans, Harry Maguire finding form, Mazraoui as a fullback, playing in the centre back position half the time, confined form. The defence is not really much of an issue to me. The fitness is the only defensive concern that I have. It's just the fitness and how quickly the availability can dry up. So yeah, I'm sort of just in a position right now where I want to see. I think deal with the quality over quantity first, and then whatever you've got left over, you can then push the quantity aspect of the squad. Um, And yeah, definitely a centre mid, at least one centre mid, one centre back at the very least. Um, and I would like to see us look at the left wing back position because that at the moment the only naturally left sided player we've got at the club that has a future is Patrick Dorgu. See, Dalot's more right side equipped. Um, Mazraoui and Amad Diallo, you could say, are the other couple of options to play in that right wing back position. But for the left hand side, you're having to borrow, essentially borrow, people like Diogo Dalot to go play over on the other side if Dorgu's struggling with availability or if he gets suspended. We don't have plan B, nor do we have a significantly experienced plan A. Now, you don't need to do crazy business. You need somebody who's just tidy, who's neat with the ball, and has got some good experience and know-how, and exudes some qualities that you can see in an Amarim system, and bring him in, and we can talk about how the left-hand side and the left wing-back position. There's a dynamic there that we can speak about in terms of what they can bring to the team, balance of attacking approach as well as defensive discipline. And I think if we can have those things, I think to me that would be a bit of a luxury. But I think again we're at the mercy of Omar Barada's relaxed business policy with Manchester United, even though it needs a must at the moment with business. But I should really go through the rest of this Premier League's fixtures list, especially with the first 2 months. So after Arsenal at home, we face Fulham away, very difficult fixture. Burnley at home. Now, judging it's not an away fixture, I would like to say that Burnley coming to Old Trafford, by which point would be the last Premier League fixture before the transfer window shuts. We should have a fully assembled squad by then, and hopefully should be ready to get our heads down and focus on the long run. Following that fixture, we'll face Manchester City away, followed up by Chelsea at home, and then Brentford away. So these games are very, very difficult. The only simple one, or simpler fixture there, you could say is maybe Burnley at home / Brentford away. And I say Brentford away because they're going to have to undergo change. They need to think about a replacement manager for Thomas Frank. They're going to have to have an adaptation period. Will they lose league positions because of that? We'll have to see. They need to think about quality replacement as well for players that do depart the club. For example, Brian Mbeumo, if he comes to United, they need to think about what quality can replace there. They've got to try and keep a hold of Vissa. He will be absolutely instrumental for them. So I think Brentford, I think they will go into that game, and judging that it's on the other end of September, we'll probably have a Carabao Cup fixture rendered in there somewhere. Um, but yeah, the first 3 months have 3 games in each of them. Right, three games in each of them for the Premier League. That's not very busy. That's not busy at all. That's really not busy. Bearing in mind there will probably be international breaks intertwined in those schedules. So there is that to keep in mind. But it's not a congested schedule. So there is very much a very big emphasis on improving league standards. Huge emphasis. But I think as far as Brentford goes, they may have choppy waters by the time we get to playing them. Whether they're fully settled or settled enough um, remains to be seen. Fulham away, I mean, Fulham have done well to keep a hold of all of their players and their manager as well. For them, it's just plug gaps. If nobody's going to come in and buy their players, then yeah, do a little bit of business here and there. Plug those gaps, and just so that you're more prepped for another Premier League campaign. And I think they'll be absolutely fine. Very middle middle of the table team, might finish as high as, let's say, eighth, ninth or eighth. I think this season, or the season coming up, they'll have something to say. And Fulham away is going to be a very difficult game. Their first home game as well, not to mention. Burnley at home, I think, is just a bit of an unknown entity. Not going to be as open as they played when Vincent Kompany was there. And I can't imagine as hard to play against as when Sean Dyche was their manager. So I think Burnley's just a bit of an unknown asset at the moment. Manchester City will be ridiculously hard because they'll probably be bouncing with the title ambitions. Chelsea will be interesting. I think they'll be quite momentous going into this season. Currently in the Club World Cup. Sunderland at home, not nearly as daunting a game as it would be as an away fixture, but again, with Manchester United, we cannot take anything for granted. Liverpool away at Anfield in October, that's a very, very tough game, but hopefully by which point United are in a groove, are understand how it is they need to play, and are finding impact in games. So by which point I'll probably go in towards that game very nervous, but also um, very intrigued to see how much of a scalp we could claim with Liverpool at their home ground. Following the Liverpool fixture, it is then Brighton at home. So again, difficult fixture. They're always they're a bit of a football player factory. They're rotating players all the time. They've done some business. I think like 2 players so far um, have joined their clubs. Um, could be interesting with that left wing back position, by the way, because Purvis Estepinian is a name featured on the watch list for United, and I would take Estepinian. I think he's previously before I've appreciated the work he's done for Brighton down the left hand side. Quite attack minded. And a few neat tricks in the locker. So I think that could be a good option to go with. About 20, was it 25, 20, I think about 26 years of age. So, an ideal target for left wing back, but the only problem is Brighton. That's the only stumbling block. They'll probably stick him to 100 million or something ridiculous. November will be a tough month. By the looks of it, will be a very tough month. Nottingham Forest away at the City Ground. Let's see how good they are this season. Will they achieve? Will they overachieve? Will they underachieve? I think that's going to be the biggest interest. They're definitely a club to watch to see how they do going into the season. And then Tottenham away straight after that. That's going to be a difficult game because it's not going to be open and Postecoglou ball. But now I say that, the boogeyman's gone. So maybe United can actually start winning games against Spurs now. Who knows? And that's another thing to watch out for. Thomas Frank at Tottenham. He could be an absolute revelation, but he could be another Nuno Espirito Santo. He could, bomb. He could bomb there. It's possible. Like there's two extremities that are very much a possibility with Thomas Frank at Spurs, and on top of that, they do very much need Daniel Levy to actually back them significantly. I think their first piece of business they've done is make the Matthias Tell deal a permanent deal, which maybe they saw incentive in that, but yeah, to me, that's not the first move you give to your manager and say, yeah, you'll be okay with this. They need to do a lot more. They need to do significantly more. Everton at home, Crystal Palace. I think Everton away is probably going to be a ridiculously tough fixture this season because I think they'll have the new stadium bouncing. Even though, yeah, they'll be quite sad to not be going to Goodison Park anymore. Um, I think at the same time, the way that their new stadium's built is like a cauldron. Like a cauldron. It's going to be loud in there. It's going to be very, very loud. So atmosphere-wise, I think Everton, and not to mention, the stands are close to the pitch. It's not like the West Ham London Stadium. Like it's not like that, where you're sat really far away from the pitch. Now this, you're actually really close to it. So yeah, I think Everton home games will be interesting. Will be very interesting. Crystal Palace away, European outfit. Fingers crossed they are. For their sake. I do think it'll be a shambles if the UEFA take their place away from them. West Ham at home in December. Will Potter still be the manager by then? Because I know that they're really doom and gloom at the moment in the West Ham fan base. For me, I think always be cautious again with Manchester United because we can sink to new lows. We've seen it. We've seen it with the last season. Wolverhampton Wanderers away would be interesting to see how Cunha does there. Bournemouth at home, another team that I do think needs to think about, doing a lot of business this summer to counteract a lot of the players that have left. A couple of their centre backs, Semenyo potentially out the door as well. I can see Tottenham going in for him. Aston Villa away will be difficult, followed up by Newcastle at home, and then after that, funnily enough, we actually play Wolves. We play Wolves at home before the second fixture there, before we play Leeds. So Leeds away is the first game in January, and then of course after that you'll get all of the return fixtures, which by the way, January looks very a bit tumultuous, very up and down with the difficulty of fixtures there. Yeah, really up and down. February starts tougher, tails off a little bit. March, very difficult, very competitive. April could be quite hot and cold. And then May, I think, fingers crossed, we'll have a little bit still left in the tank for May because there's still a couple of high intensity fixtures scheduled for that end of the season. And you know what? I'll dread it. I really do dread it. If Liverpool are out and out favourites, please do not make it so that they've got enough points to have a plus. Like let's say for example, 10 points. If they go with a 10-point gap by the result, if they win against us at home in May, and that puts them to 10 points clear, they win the league at Old Trafford. They win the league at Old Trafford. So hopefully the title race is not as lopsided, and we'll have a Manchester City. Hopefully Chelsea can have something to say about it. Don't really have a lot of faith with Arsenal at the moment because I think even if Arteta keeps his job, there's no guarantee that they're going to do anything like really, really, really special. There's not the sort of energy or vibe around them at the moment. And also, if Berta gets Arteta sacked, change of plans, change of ethos, change of everything, it could be a bumpy ride or a bumpy run-in to the rest of the season, depending on if they do pull the trigger. But by which point, if Arteta does get the sack, Arsenal must be in a difficult position. if that were to happen. So yeah, that's the at least the first half of the fixtures. You can find all of the club's fixture lists all over social medias now. Um, but yeah, man, the first 6 games is a very tough way to start the Premier League. But listen, we've got to play everybody twice, play every game as it comes there, and yeah, hopefully we can pick up lots of valuable points as we go along, and hopefully we've got a very good squad or good enough squad by that point. But yeah, let me know what your thoughts are on the Premier League fixtures as well, guys. This video's gone on for nearly 50 minutes, nearly an hour. That's crazy for a video upload. But let me know what your feelings are about the fixture list in the comment section down below. Are you guys optimistic for the Premier League? Are you guys nervous? Are you guys looking forward to it? Are you excited? Be excited. Hopefully, this Premier League season has a bit more excitement in each of the games um, than the last season has. There's a lot of people that say Amarim will get sacked this season. They will be gone before Christmas. It's Opta Analyst, by the way, that depicts that Manchester United's first 5 fixtures are the toughest out of everybody's. They deem Aston Villa as the easiest fixture list. Arsenal apparently have the second hardest start as well. So yeah, but West Ham have the hardest game of all time with their opening game of the season to West Ham. So don't worry, Tom. We'll be thinking of you. They have Sunderland away at the Stadium of Light. Thoughts and prayers with all the West Ham fans for that game, definitely. But anyways, make sure that you hit the likes and you subscribe and all of that good stuff. Again, hopefully, like you guys saying we've got Xerxes and Anana. Why are you worried? That's exactly the reason to be worried. But yeah, hopefully with other no Boxing Day fixtures in the Prem this year. Whoa, shit. It's going to be difficult. There's a lot of news that's just broken for United, but I'll see if I'll see what's going on here. Jadon Sancho remains on Napoli's radar, but not with his current salary demands. Marketeers apparently saying that Sancho is open to a move to Napoli, so he's not said no. He's just saying no to the pay packets. But also, Sport Build have said that United are interested in Xavi Simons, and that Xavi Simons, broken by Romano, is Fabrizio, is expected to leave RB Leipzig this summer. I think we sort of knew this anyways. I don't know why everyone's like, "Oh my god, it's unbelievable, he's leaving." Like, I mean, we sort of knew it was going to happen. We knew that it was going to happen. Slow sports news with this one. Napoli will formally approach United if they believe the move is realistic. They are in touch with Sancho's camp over personal terms. They would require him to reduce his salary. United prefer to sell him permanently and value him at £25 million. So if Napoli are having a problem with that fee, to me, it's not the fee that's the problem. I think it's just the wages. And I think that's probably why they're saying, "Oh, we don't agree with the wages or the fee." No, I think you're happy with the fee. It's just, those wages, cut those wages in half, and you will have £25 million in the bank tomorrow. That's how I think likely or likening that transfer fee is. But anyways, I'm gonna love you and leave you guys. Take care. Depending on what other news breaks today, we may be back, we may not be. We'll have to see what is breaking, what is trending, and yeah, take care, and we'll see you guys later.